You can like on YouTube or Instagram or something like that. Hey, what's up, good peoples?
Oh.
Habari Gani. Habari Gani. Habari Gani.
What do you say? What do you say?
What do you say in response to Habari Gani?
You're not showing him, boo.
I think I forgot.
Whoa, you forgot. Hold on. Other children. Habari Gani. Akaya and Udaye.
Kujichagulia.
Oh, they so like, yeah, Kujichagulia.
Hey, what's up, y'all? So we are
Y'all too loud.
coming to you today. Y'all got to press pause on that. Adaye and Akaya.
Take it upstairs. Y'all can take it upstairs.
Take it upstairs into the main level. I mean, onto the
TV room.
into the TV room.
That looks fun. Y'all got it. Take it to the TV room.
They over here playing Hungry Hungry Hippo. So we're gonna wait until they exit. Y'all need to go ahead and take that upstairs.
So we wanted to talk really quickly about Kwanzaa. We have practiced Kwanzaa in our household for many, many, many moons. I don't know how long. How long has it been? It's been years.
It's been years, yeah.
I mean, lots of years. It's been at least 17 or 18 years now that we practice Kwanzaa. And celebrated it every year because our oldest is 18 and we've been doing it since before he got here. So it's important for us. Hold on one second, y'all. I know y'all heard us say take it upstairs.
We're about to. We're just collecting all the pieces.
Okay.
Why do you gotta collect the pieces and take it upstairs?
Because they're gonna fall. We don't want them to fall. Take all the pieces out.
One of the things that sometimes for me is disappointing is that people really don't pay attention to Kwanzaa. We don't pay attention to it as a people, as Black folks, African Americans specifically, and we don't really give it the credit and the time that it needs. And I know that for me, for my family, for me personally, and what I've seen in my children, and even in myself and my husband, it's so grounding. Because it is not a religious holiday. It is not something that has to compete with whatever you believe in or anything like that. It is a cultural holiday that helps me personally, and I think helps all people who practice it, really connect into our heritage, pay attention to stuff that we might not ordinarily pay attention to. And then when you look at the principles, when you look at Umoja, unity, Kujichagulia, self-determination, Ujima, collective work and responsibility, Ujima, cooperative economics, Nia, purpose, Kuumba, creativity, and Imani, faith. I mean, these are things that I want my children, I want to also be reminded about, especially as we get to the end of a year. It's very centering for me because at the end of celebrating it, the end of the 7 days, as we get closer to the new year, we pull out our vision boards, our family, everybody. All of the kids, myself, my husband, and we start to think about what we want to manifest and what we want to do differently in the new year. So it's very grounding for me. And it reminds me of who I am and who came before me. And if we don't take time out to do that, like on purpose, you can just be caught up living life and realize, oh, dang, sometimes your kids say some things you're like, you don't know who that is? You don't know about that? You know, and sometimes you're in conversations where people are talking about stuff and you don't know what they're talking about. It's because we haven't taken the time to do what? Go back and fetch it. Sankofa. Pay attention to our history. And Kwanzaa offers us that opportunity, not just during the holidays, but all year round.
Yeah, so I echo my wife's sentiments, and the title of this video, this live stream right here is, how are you, or what are you going to do, or what are you doing to celebrate? Yeah, put this in there for me. To celebrate the principles of Umoja and Kujichagulia. And the reason why we're saying these two right now
What the heck is it?
is because Umoja was yesterday and Kujichagulia is today. And so again, what are you going to do to celebrate as it pertains to your relationship? So I think that it's important that my wife, she having a hard time too here.
Oh, I'm saying it's not in one of those things.
It's not. It's right here.
Do you need it right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Umoja, my wife, she mentioned, Umoja, it means unity. And so, as it was determined, unity, don't elbow me in my face, huh?
My bad.
As it was determined, particularly as it relates to Kwanzaa, Umoja means to strive for and to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Again, to strive for and to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. And so when it comes to your relationship, let's just look at the family. How are you and what are you doing to maintain unity within the family?
Your family.
Your family. I mean, are you doing things like having family dinner? Are you taking family walks? Are you and your spouse, you and your partner taking walks? Are you all eating together? Are you all spending quality time together to maintain, to strengthen, to foster the unity within that unit, within that couple unit? Or are you all living isolated lives? And so again, the question is, what are you doing to elevate the unity in your relationship? Any ideas out there? What are y'all doing out there as it pertains to you all elevating the unity in your relationship? My wife and I, we just went to the park. We went to the park.
Cut off your mouth and the bottom of your face. Just saying. Okay, go ahead.
We went to the park, spent some quality time. My wife, she's criticizing the way I'm holding the camera. And we spent some quality time. I mean, that's one way to foster the relationship and to strengthen it. And so again, you got to be intentional about taking time to connect in with one another and to grow the unity in your relationship. And so once you build the bond between you and your boo, it's important that you extend that out to your family. So every single night this week, what we're going to be doing is spending time with the family, lighting the Canara, going over the principles, playing the djembe, singing the songs, etc., etc., pouring libations to the ancestors and speaking about the principles. And so, last night, all of our children, shared how Kwanzaa related to them, particularly as it related to unity and how they could do something different to demonstrate unity within those areas that I mentioned, the family, community, nation, and race. And so, again, that's a good activity. Now, tonight we on Kujichagulia, y'all, self-determination. And so self-determination specifically applies to you defining yourself, naming yourself, speaking for yourself, and creating for yourself. So in your relationship, how are you defining yourselves in your relationship? Now, some of y'all are in relationships that ain't got no name. Ain't got no name, no definition. Y'all got loose parameters, loose boundaries in your relationship. And this right here is the perfect day to get clear. To be self-determined about what the status of your relationship is. If you find yourself meandering and not really clear about where your relationship is and where it's going, get self-determined. Mm-hmm. Exercise some Kujichagulia and take your relationship to the next level. Anybody out there in that space where there's this ambiguity, they exist in the fuzziness, they dwell in the gray, and have hesitancy around actually being clear and being determined about taking their relationship to the next level? We know it's true because we work with a lot of people who are in this space right here where they're just struggling and they're stuck. And so again, self-determination, Kujichagulia, it's about defining yourself, creating for yourself, naming yourself, and determining a sense of direction for yourself.
And when you're in a couple unit, when you are with somebody who you love, who you care about, who you're committed to, it's important to make sure that unity and self-determination are present. And it's important to ask the question, like off the cuff. Are you even asking the question and saying, like, where are we with regards to how we show up for one another and with each other? Where are we with regards to what our goals are, and how are we trying to define ourselves? What legacy are we trying to build? My husband and I, every year, at the end of the year, we have a big whiteboard in our house where we do a lot of our work, and we write down what our goals are individually, and then how we can help each other to be able to get towards those goals, and then perhaps even how we can pull together and work on them together. Some of those things are just for me. I used to get irritated, or maybe not irritated, a little bit, but I would be a little, I wanted him, like, whatever my goal was and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to work on, I wanted him to feel it the same way that I felt it, whether it was for the family or for myself or what have you. Some things are just for you. And you have to understand and recognize that some of those things are for you. And self-determination gives us the ability to know that we can define it just how we need to define it for ourselves. And there are other things that we need to be working on together, whether it's with our finances and paying attention to how we run the household budget, whether it's with making sure that we're sharing that with our kids, that they grow up having some conversation and having had some exposure to how to do that differently, so that they're not starting at point A, or behind point A. They're a little further ahead in the game. We talk a lot about entrepreneurship in our family. We talk a lot about how important it is to not just be the talent, to not just be the producer, or not the producer, but the regurgitator of something, or the principal person just kind of out here in front, but you need to be behind the scenes. You need to be, generating it. You need to own something, right? So these kinds of things, self-determination, and having a sense of unity in yourself and in your family, and first between you and your boo, let me tell you, it separates the successful folks from the non-successful folks, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It separates the people who are going to rise to another level in terms of the legacy that you leave as an individual and as a couple and as a family, and those who will, as my husband said earlier, kind of just wander their way through, going to work every day, going to school, coming home, loving each other, right? But not necessarily doing things with a real clear sense of vision. And you don't have to be super crystal clear all the time. You just have to be engaged in the process. Yeah. And so our hope for you on today, the second day of Kwanzaa, is that you would get determined, that you would get clear, that there's something greater for you in your life, and there's something greater that just your relationship is supposed to bring, that your offspring, your children, y'all all supposed to bring, and that there's a role that you have in the greater community of our folks and our people. So I know that I'm on purpose and in purpose, and I struggle sometimes to make sure that I'm staying in alignment with it and that I don't get distracted. And we make sure that we come together and we talk about it every year, more than just one time a year, but definitely during Kwanzaa, so that we can make sure that we are not playing, but that we are always pushing.
Yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow, y'all, to talk about Ujima.
Oh, we will?
Collective work and responsibility. Yep, every single day.
All right.
We're going to be talking about every principle, or each principle on each day. And so again, I don't know what time we're coming on tomorrow, but we will be back tomorrow talking about Ujima, collective work and responsibility. But again, before we go, ask yourself that question. What are you doing? What are you willing to do to show Umoja, unity, in your family, within your relationship? What are you willing to do? What are you doing to show and demonstrate Kujichagulia, self-determination, as it pertains to your relationship? You have to be clear-minded. You have to be focused. You have to be intentional about the direction that you are going in, your relationship is going in, and what you hope to get out of, or where you hope your relationship to go. If you're not intentional about it, then, you know, you're going to end up staying in the same place, y'all. Step. So again, be clear, be decisive, be determined, and spark a fire up under the unity in your relationship. It's not just for you. It's not just for the relationship, but it's also for your family, too. As always, y'all, stop playing and keep on pushing.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.